Hello everyone and welcome to yet another Soulsborne boss ranking. Last time we placed all of the Demon Souls bosses on this wonderful, very thorough tier list here. And today we're going to be doing Dark Souls 1, naturally. So, before I get into today's video, of course, if you haven't already, you should be sure to subscribe. But if you are interested in knowing the exact reasoning for my placement of the bosses in the last video and today's video, you should go and check out the Demon Souls ranking. I explain my criteria for the rankings in depth. But without any further ado, let's get right into today's video. Starting off with the first boss in the game, we have the Asylum Demon. It's kind of a similar situation with Vanguard. In fact, they're incredibly similar bosses. Vanguard is pretty much the blueprint for Asylum Demon. There's a little bit more complexity with it. You are actually intended to beat it. I think it's really only like the first of two bosses in the game that you can encounter twice, that you're meant to encounter twice and not beat the first time, so that you gotta go and explore the rest of the level in order to get the stuff that you need. It's pretty interesting. I definitely think it's a better tutorial boss than Vanguard, so I'll put it a little bit higher than Vanguard, I think. That's probably a decent spot for it. Next we have the Taurus Demon. It's pretty basic. The arena you fight it on is a little cramped. It is possible for you to fall off and die when fighting him, which is usually not great. That's a little bit annoying. But he can do the same as well. And also, being able to climb up the ladder and do the plunging attacks is a built-in part of the boss fight, which makes it a little bit more interesting than it would be otherwise if you just kind of fought him normally. So, I'm going to put him, I think, probably kind of around the same place as Asylum. Maybe a little lower. Now then, Moonlight Butterfly. This fight has some nice visuals, it has good music, but it's kind of a nothing fight, really. If you don't have any ranged capabilities, you're just standing around dodging magic until it lands for like 30 seconds, and then you smack it a bunch, and then you hope it dies. Or you summon the Phantom right outside its boss arena, and they just kill it in like 30 seconds. Yeah, I would say Moonlight is overall pretty boring. We'll put it, I think maybe just a little below Phalanx. Next we have the Bell Gargoyle. Gargoyles. Technically our first major boss in the game. Our first boss that we get a cutscene for. I quite like the Bell Gargoyles. I think they're not too bad as a kind of gank boss, you know, a 1v2. Mostly because the second one doesn't come in until the first one's already about half health. That one has less health anyway. Doesn't even have a tail when it comes in, so you don't have to worry about that. I like their designs, I like the intro cutscene, I like the arena you fight them in. Overall, I just think that they're pretty good. So I'm going to put these guys up here in quality. Next we have the Stray Demon. And this is where we start to get into reskins and reuses of bosses. So you see I have a lazy tier here for bosses that I feel didn't really have much in the way of effort put into their creation. Reskins are not going to be automatically placed in this tier. It depends on how many there are, and what, if any, changes are made. With the Stray Demon, it's larger, it has AoE attacks, its weapon is different, and it has a lot more health. So it's not just straight up doing the Asylum Demon again, but I also find that generally for the point in the game that you're probably going to run into it, it's kind of annoying. So it's going to go here in the annoying tier. Next we have the Capra Demon. You all know where this one's going. We stuck an aggressive enemy with 2 dogs, and you know how dogs are in these games, and we put them in a tight, cramped space that's really poorly designed. Yeah. Yeah. It goes where it belongs. Next we have the Gaping Dragon, which is pretty neat. Its design is certainly one of the most unique and fucked up out of, well, really just about any in a FromSoft game. Not really too much else to say about it. It's, you know, it's a pretty alright fight. It's cool. I would put it in probably like lower quality or something, I'm thinking. Yeah, somewhere around there. Next we have Chaos Witch Quelaag, who has a really cool design. You fight him in a nice big arena. Their moves are cool. They're not too terribly difficult. They don't really have anything that's too bullshit. I feel like maybe the most questionable thing Quelaag has is her big AoE body explosion thing. If you are attacking her towards the back, it'll be really hard to see what she's doing. So you may not see that she's about to do the AoE, and it does a shitload of damage. But other than that, it's a very solid boss. I think I will place her up somewhere in quality. Maybe around here somewhere. Yeah? Yeah, we'll do that. Next we have the Iron Golem. It's a big guy. That's basically it. The most interesting thing about Iron Golem is that you can knock it off of the arena if you hit it enough, which is really cool. And, you know, Tarkus exists. Do I include Tarkus? Do I factor Tarkus into this ranking? I don't think I need to, because you can do the same thing that Tarkus does. So Iron Golem will go quality as well. Iron Golem's pretty good. Next we have Crossbreed Priscilla. They're really not much of a boss. They don't even try to fight you when you walk in, they just ask you to leave. You only really fight them as a boss if you attack them. And when you do, they don't do much. They turn invisible. That's pretty much it. They're kind of a boring fight, all things considered. Yeah. A little bit more mechanically interesting than King Allant. Next we have Dark Sun Gwendolyn. They don't really have much going on, but the arena you fight them in is neat. I like the infinite, not really infinite hallway. I'll put them up in, like, I don't know, lower enjoyable, I suppose. Actually, now that I think about it, they are a little bit similar to Armor Spider, in that you're fighting someone that almost exclusively does range attacks down a very long tunnel-like boss arena. Which do I enjoy more, though? I think Gwendolyn's a little bit more interesting. Next. Oh yeah, these guys, you know. The original great gank boss. The Slam Jam duo, Ornstein and Smo. I like these guys a lot. I don't think I really need to talk too in-depth about why they're really good, because you all know. But I don't like them quite as much as a lot of other people do, so I'm just going to put them in top quality. They're very good, though. This is our first top quality DS1 boss. Next we have Great Grey Wolf Sif. I don't think I really need to explain this one much either. Sif's moveset and everything is pretty basic, but it's more so the emotional aspect that comes from the fight, especially if you did Artorias of the Abyss first. Ooh. That hurts a lot, doesn't it? Yeah, I'll put them above Maiden Astraea, because they have sort of the emotional impact, moral dilemma, but it's more of an actual fight than Maiden Astraea. Next we have the Four Kings. I'm a big fan of the Four Kings, honestly. Some of their stuff I'm not like a big fan of, but for me it's mostly the spectacle. The feeling of fighting these strange, otherworldly beings in an infinite void. It fucks up your depth perception and everything. It's hard to tell how big they are unless you get like right up next to them. I think it's a really cool boss. I quite like it. So where will I place these guys? I'm thinking, well, at least quality, at least. Would I take it to top quality? That's a tough one. You know what? I would put them up there. Yeah. Fuck it. I think they're cool enough. They're interesting enough. The DPS race, I'm not like the biggest fan of in the world, but it adds kind of like an interesting dynamic to the fight, gives it a bit more stakes, you know. You gotta make sure that you are definitely prepared for fighting these guys, otherwise you are in for a fucking nightmare. Next we have Seath. Honestly, Seath's pretty boring. He just kind of shoots a bunch of shit on the ground, flails around occasionally, kind of try to stay on his ass. The most difficult part of the fight is trying to get the Moonlight Greatsword out of his tail. Yeah, not really much to say about him. Cool design, though. Oh, Pinwheel. Oh, Pinwheel. I mean, you guys know. You know where this guy belongs, right? He belongs in the boring tier, because there's really not much to him. Again, mildly more mechanically interesting than King Allant. You know, he makes the clones or whatever, he shoots the big fire attack, that's it, and then you beat him in, like, under 10 hits, depending on what point of the game you get to him at. Next we have Nito, who is fucking awesome. I mean, he's a giant skeleton made of a bunch of normal-sized skeletons, cloaked in shadow. He has a giant bone sword arm. I suppose it's more of his hand. But, you know, Nito's fucking awesome. He's the shit. He's real goddamn Nito. The thing with his fight is, I find the sort of enemy gank aspect of his fight really fucking annoying. It just makes it unnecessarily difficult. I know that you can use his attacks and the AoEs to keep them off of you, but it feels like if you don't have a divine weapon, you pretty much have to fight him in Havel's armor, otherwise you're just going to get stun-locked into hell. And then if you do have a divine weapon and you kill all the skeletons, then Nito's really easy. Kind of hard to say. I think I would put Nito up in quality, at least. He's still a pretty good boss. Very cool guy. Next we have Ceaseless Discharge, which really doesn't have much going on, but I do think that the whole making him chase you down the arena and then doing the jump attack so that you can just make him fall into the pit is a bit neat. I'll put him at, like, the bottom of enjoyable. I just kind of like that gimmick aspect to him. Now we have Demon Fire Sage. Okay. Now it's a little bit much. This one's just on fire. I think his AoEs do fire damage. I can't really remember. It's just Stray Demon, again. It's a reskin of a reskin. And do you know what that is, folks? Do you know what that is? That's fucking lazy. Centipede Demon, it's annoying. Do I need to say much else? I don't really think so. The boss's moveset is kind of obnoxious. The arena you fight it in is not very great. It's possible for him to just stand in the lava and do that one thrusting attack at you ad infinitum. That's happened to me multiple times. And, well, you don't have the ring yet, and if you don't have ranged attacks, you can't really do shit about it. So, not very enjoyable. I don't need to say anything. Do I? I probably should say some things. The Bed of Chaos. For fuck's sake, Miyazaki... I think Miyazaki had to apologize for Bed of Chaos for the way it turned out. I don't think there's anything else that could say more about how terrible this boss is. Have you ever seen Bed of Chaos's hitboxes? They're nightmare fuel. They're god-awful. With almost any other Soulsborne boss, I can imagine a person walking into the fight totally blind, knowing nothing about it, and being able to figure out how to beat them. I can't really imagine that with Bed of Chaos, given all of the floor collapsing bullshit and the fact that you have to jump down into the pit onto a pathway in a game that has really bad platforming in order to go and beat the boss. Oh, and there's no satisfaction from it, because it's a big, obnoxious puzzle, and you finish it by going and... Fuck, you could roll kill the Bed of Chaos. No, it's really bad. Actually, that's an understatement. It is god-awful, one of the worst bosses ever. Now we have the last boss of the main game, Gwyn. Gwyn has a lot going for him. You've got the build-up from the very start of the game, all the way from the intro cutscene. You hear about Gwyn and his deeds all throughout the entirety of the game. He gave parts of his soul to some of the other Lord Soul guys that you fought. He's responsible for creating the 4 Knights of Gwyn, who we've run into at various points and who are very significant characters. And he's kind of the guy responsible for fucking everything up. And then you go and meet him, and he is a husk. He is a shell of his former self. And you have that classic music playing over it. But the boss is really easy. Or it is if you're good at parrying. Then it's kind of frustrating. I would say, with all of these things in mind, Gwyn is still a top quality boss. Yeah. Yeah, I think I would say that. Now then, the DLC. If you ask me, this is when FromSoft really started stepping their game up with the boss design. Because we start off with the Sanctuary Guardian, which is literally just a big monster thing. It's a big guard dog, and it's still, actually, a really, really good fight. It's one of the best beast fights they've done. It's tremendous, honestly. Then we move on to Knight Artorias. All of the humanoid boss fights that you know and love from any FromSoft game that has come out after the first one, I would say you have to thank Knight Artorias for them existing. It is probably the best boss in the game, if you ask me. There are no problems with it. Fighting them is extremely fun. It's difficult, it's challenging, but it's incredibly fair. I don't think he has anything that's really frustrating, or that he does that and I can say that's bullshit without coping. Anytime you mess up fighting Artorias, it's your fault. It's only because of you. Even his phase 2 power-up, you're able to interrupt. It's a boss that encourages aggression without being greedy. The OST is good. Design, tremendous. And the lore surrounding Artorias is great. He's a wonderful, tragic hero character, and we're the ones that end up saving his legacy. So, obviously, Knight Artorias will be the first boss on this list that makes it into Peak. Now we have the optional boss of the DLC, Black Dragon Calamite, who I would say is probably the first really good dragon boss in any of the Souls games. Because, you know, Dragon God, well, he's over here. Gaping Dragon's pretty good. Seath is very boring. And then we have Calamite, who you just kind of fight normally. He's a big, normal dragon, actually. Now that I think about it, he's our first normal dragon boss fight, and he's pretty solid. He's pretty good. I would put him... Would I put him above Gwyn? That's a tough one. I would. And our last boss for today's ranking, Manus, the Father of the Abyss, the last boss of the DLC. You know, pretty much the entire DLC is building up to you fighting him. He's the one that drags you into the past. You're avenging Artorias. You're saving Sif and bringing him along with you so that you can save Princess Dusk from the rampant primeval human who is birthed the Abyss. Um, the intro cutscene is really great. He's an incredibly intimidating boss. His moveset is very difficult to deal with, but once again, I don't think he has anything that's really bullshit. Um, Even the stuff that you generally want the silver pendant for, you don't need the silver pendant for, just kind of like a thing that helps make the boss a lot easier, and I like that extra mechanic to it. You all know it, Manus is also going to be going in Peak, but below Artorias, I would say Artorias is still definitely the best boss in Dark Souls 1. So, with that, that is all of our bosses for today's ranking. What did you guys think of it? Do you have any particular placements that you disagree with? Where would you place these bosses on your own list? Please be sure to let me know down in the comments. Next time, we will be getting along to Dark Souls 2. That's going to be a bit of a longer one, because Dark Souls 2 has, what, like 40 bosses in it? Something crazy like that. I will try to expedite the process and make it go along a little smoother. It shouldn't drag on for too long. But if you're looking forward to that, of course, you should be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that. I have a playlist full of myself streaming Soulsborne games pretty soon. I will be finishing my Sekiro playthrough, which means I will have finished all of the Soulsborne games on the channel, so you'll be able to watch me playing through all of them. I did a complete playthrough of Elden Ring when it came out. I have a playlist full of lore videos, and I plan on starting a new lore playthrough somewhat soon. So yeah, you know, if you're interested in all that, definitely be sure to check out the channel. You should also be sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Helps boost us up in the algorithm. I'd appreciate it a lot. And if you guys enjoy the content I produce on this channel, you should be sure to check out the Discord server. I have that link down in the description. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys around. Take care. Bye-bye.